Hello everybody, Abed's brother here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of Banishers Ghosts of New Eden on some old PCs. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden was developed by Don't Nod, published by Focus Entertainment, and released on PC February 13th, 2024. It uses the Unreal 5 engine and uses the DirectX 12 API. And you can see the minimum and recommended specifications on the screen here. It is a pretty demanding game. It is Unreal 5 after all. But it is one of the more optimized Unreal 5 games. That's why I'm testing it today. Now, before starting the game on my systems, I would get a warning like this that says the drivers are out of date. It could be a Linux thing, could be a game thing, could be a Proton thing. I don't really know what it is, but I just thought I would show it to you here. But the game ran fine even with that warning. First up, we'll be testing the system. System 1 is FX-8320e and the Radeon R9 290. So we go into the options here. You can see that it is all at 1080p, low settings, with no upscaling. And upscaling is going to be a theme in this video, so do wait for that to come back. And not too bad. 1080p low, short draw distance. We're looking at 40 to 45 FPS. We go outside into Fort Jericho and we drop into the low to mid 30s. Sometimes upper 30s, basically the 30s. Again, no upscaling. Pretty good for a system this old. And like I said earlier, Banishers is one of the more optimized Unreal 5 engine games out there. But now what happens when we turn on FSR, you might think? Oh, let's turn on FSR. Let's see if we can get a few more frames here. And practically no change. Maybe a frame or two better, that's it. And you can see the way the 290 is jumping. It's at 100%, but it's jumping up and down a lot. That, to me, indicates a CPU bottleneck. And again, that is going to be a theme in this video. Now you'll say, oh, it's an FX chip. Of course it's going to bottleneck a 290. Yeah, but yeah, hold on. We're going to be revisiting this issue in a few minutes. So since that's not really doing much, let's just turn FSR off. Might as well take the sharper visuals and turned off. It's about the same. So even with low settings, Banishers, Unreal 5 engine games can look really good, and Banishers is no different. It does have some very nice visuals. Now I'm showing you the full video here because of some issues that show up here in a minute. Now the frame rate's going up because we have no draw. Going up? Yeah, it went up. Goes down and then it goes up. It's all over the place. But it's really going to drop here because we're loading in a new area. And the frame rate never really recovers. You know, dip to 20-ish while it's reading data from the hard drive, and then it should recover. And you can even see on the I/O read-write up there, we're not reading a ton of data from the SSD right now. We're reading a little bit, but not much. But the frame rate never recovered. So let's turn FSR back on, and maybe that'll help. And we recovered. Frame rate has recovered to where it was. I don't know what that's about. We're not in a fort anymore. We are rendering some pretty good draw distances, but we don't have nearly the amount of NPCs or other objects on screen that we did when we were in the fort, so the frame rate should be higher than it was there. But let's see how we do in combat. I chose this little arena here because it's not far from the fort, and it is a repeatable encounter, so I can just keep running back here for each of the different systems, and oh, come on. come running back here and keep redoing this. It says on the upper right of the screen, more rifle and... What the heck are you doing? More rifle and ensnare damage, so I need to keep using the rifle as much as possible here. Made me miss. And I'm almost dead. Oh, there's a guy up above throwing stuff at me. Yeah, I need to... Combat in this is a little bit clunky. It really wants to be Dark Souls, and it's... or, I think it's Sekiro I'm thinking of, and it just isn't. So I'm taking you... There's one more. There he is. Taking you through the full combat encounter because of what happens right here at the end. So I'm thinking, well, maybe if I turn off FSR now, maybe the frame rate will go down again. Will it go down again? So let's turn it off and see what happens. And it stayed pretty much the same, so I have no idea what the issue was. This is kind of a little bit of an anomaly here with the R9 290. Even without those issues, it's a pretty impressive performance for a system this old. Test system 2 will be testing on the i7 4790 and the GTX 1060 6GB. And like the previous test with the 290, we're going to be running at the same settings, which is 1080p low with no upscaling. And as you'll see, pretty similar frame rates. Some of that is just the NVIDIA driver doing its thing, because it should definitely be performing better than the R9 290. For sure, but it really doesn't. I have a theory about why this is. You can even see the 1060 isn't always at 99%. That to me indicates it's being a little bit CPU bottlenecked. I'm starting to think this is an Unreal 5 problem. Because Banishers is a well-optimized Unreal 5 game, but even a well-optimized Unreal 5 game has this issue, then that points to me to an engine problem. But let's try turning FSR on. Let's see if that exaggerates the bottleneck. Alright, so now frame rate is... Again, maybe a tiny bit better, not much, but you can see the GTX 1060 is sitting about 80% utilization, so this is definitely a CPU issue. Even though, yeah, let's turn it off since it's not doing much, even though the 4790 is indisputably a faster CPU than the FX-8320e. Intel was way superior than AMD that generation. In combat, you can see again we're about the same as the R9 290 and FX-8320e. It's not bad performance, again, considering the age of the systems. In terms of performance, yeah, it actually is not the best. You know, we're staying above 30 FPS, but we can't really use upscaling, so I don't even know if there is a way to achieve 60 FPS on the system, not without... Even if we went to upscaling, it didn't really work, so... I think I could play the game like this, but it's definitely less than optimal, and I feel like the GTX 1060 and 4790 are seriously underperforming here. Definitely a disappointment. 290 and FX chip, you know, you feel like, oh, I'll take whatever I can get with them. But with this, I was hoping for a lot better, that's for sure. For test system 3, we'll be using the i7-5930K and the Vega 64. Okay, so now we've got a lot more horsepower. And for this, we will be going at 1080p, no upscaling, medium preset. 1080p medium, I'm thinking, okay, this should not be a problem at all. Again, in a very optimized game, but already you can see we are CPU limited again. And a Broadwell chip like the 5930K should be good. Shouldn't bottleneck anything below, I want to say, 90 to 100 FPS. Because of the core architecture and the cache size and everything. So let's turn on FSR, but I'm pretty sure that's not going to improve anything. Yeah, that didn't help. That didn't help at all. But Broadwell chips should be good. Up to, like I said, up to about 90 to 100 FPS, and below that I wouldn't expect them to bottleneck anything at all. Certainly not a Radeon GPU with Radeon's optimized driver on Linux. So I don't know what the particular issue is here. This is starting to look like I hesitate to say an Unreal 5 problem, but because you would think a game as well optimized as Banishers Ghosts of New Eden would not have CPU bottleneck like this, but apparently it does. In combat, you can see we're in a completely different category. We're still a little bottleneck, but not nearly as badly as we were. We're up in the 90s on the Vega, which to me indicates that it was definitely an issue with the city and the number of distance objects on the screen. Because now, in combat, shorter draw distances, a lot fewer enemies on the screen. You can see frame rates are higher. Utilization is generally better, but still bottlenecked. I do have a theory about this bottlenecking, but I'm going to save that for the end of the video. Definitely disappointing, though. I had hoped... I know Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is not exactly a super popular game, but just because it was a so well optimized, I thought I would test it given how poorly Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered was fared in my testing. I thought I would give this a try. And to say I'm disappointed would be a pretty big understatement. I had hoped for a lot more from Banishers. Come on! See, you can totally get stun-locked in this game. There's just way too much going on here. And the combat is clunky as heck. Test System 4, we will be testing the Ryzen 5 5500 and the Intel Arc A770. Now, the A770 did not fare well in Oblivion Remastered. But let's see how it fares here in a properly optimized, or at least somewhat optimized, Unreal 5 game. Same settings as for Vega. It's 1080p medium. And we do have a small graphical artifact in the middle of the screen sometimes. You can sometimes see a tiny little black box. But it looks like we are doing a bit better than Vega. Sometimes quite a bit better, like 4 or 5 FPS. But I don't think FSR is going to do much. Let's see. It could be a bug with FSR, but I don't think so. We actually did see a drop in utilization whenever we turn FSR on, which indicates it is working, but it's a CPU bottleneck. And again, we don't really have a difference here. And the Arc utilization has dropped to about 90%. So again, we're dealing with something with the CPU on an Unreal 5 game. The Arc is definitely the best performer here. Not by much, but of the systems in my test suite, this is definitely the best performing game. I mean, best performing system. We're almost holding 60 FPS in the Ford. It's just unfortunate we have these graphical artifacts that sometimes pop up in the middle of the screen. That's got to be a driver issue. And we did have artifacts in Oblivion Remastered as well, so some problem with the Intel driver? I do not know for sure. In combat, we're definitely using more of the Arc GPU than we were using of the Vega. Like the Arc, the Intel driver does seem to be making the best use it can of the resources it has here. This is definitely a much better showing for Intel in an Unreal 5 game than Oblivion Remastered. Oblivion Remastered is just a disaster for Intel Arc. This is a much, much better showing. Come on.
Once more with feeding.
Doesn't mean it's necessarily a good showing. Oh, come on. I'm getting totally owned here. Got to run around, put some distance between me and them.
Some of this.
See, they've got a shield on them, and I'm barely taking it down. Yeah, definitely the best, a good performance from Intel Arc, but I would have hoped for better from just about every PC in this test. So I do have a theory about why I'm having so many problems in Unreal 5 games with CPU bottlenecking, and that theory is L3 cache. Old CPUs do not have a lot of it. The FX chip and the i7-4790 both have 8 megabytes, I believe. The i7-5930K has 15 or 16 megabytes, and the Ryzen 5 5500 also has 16 megabytes of L3 cache. Now, if you're going with a Ryzen 5 3600, that, for instance, has 32 megabytes of L3 cache, I believe, and modern games built for modern systems are going to be more dependent or expect to have larger CPUs with more L3 cache. And when you test on an older system, I'm proposing a suggestion here. It looks like a CPU bottleneck. Because the CPU itself is not maxed out, so you're like, well, the cores aren't overloaded, but clearly something in the processing pipeline is at its limit. That's my idea. If you have another suggestion or idea for why Unreal 5 games are such a problem on old hardware like this, drop it in the comments below. That's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.